All right, thanks everyone for joining today's presentation, Protecting Profits by Avoiding Ransomware. My name is Carla Federico and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Infrascale. I just want to thank everyone for their time today, first and foremost. And a couple of quick housekeeping announcements before we get started. One is just that I am recording this session and I'm going to post that on our website within 24 hours. That will be posted at infrascale.com/webinars. You'll also be receiving via email a copy of these slides, and I'll also put a copy of the slides in the handouts at the end of the webinar, so you can grab a copy there as well. If you'd like to join the conversation on social, we'd love to talk with you. You can follow us on Twitter at Infrascale. And then also, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the questions tool in the software to ask just throughout the entire presentation as we go. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway during the Q&A. So all you need to do to be eligible for that is ask lots of relevant and on-topic questions. So this is a look at our agenda for today. First, we're just going to talk about what is ransomware, what it's not, the trends that we've been seeing lately, especially this beginning few months of 2016, the first half of the year. How to implement a proper solution so that you don't get affected by ransomware and what you can do. And then we're going to have that Q&A and again that prize giveaway. So again, just make sure to ask lots of relevant and on-topic questions, and that's going to get you eligible for that prize giveaway. We're doing a Chromecast giveaway, so hope everyone has good luck for that. All right, so we're going to just start off with a quick understanding of what is ransomware, because it can take several different forms, but it's really a type of malware that denies access to a device or files until the ransom's been paid. So it's going to encrypt a user's files, and it forces them to pay a fee to the hacker to regain access to their own data. And then an even bigger problem sets in because ransomware encrypts the files on a workstation and then can travel across your network and encrypt files on your network drives as well. And that's how one infected user can bring a whole department or even an entire organization to a halt. So let's take a look at the evolution of ransomware. Since computers have really been in use, programmers have been able to create malicious software. Even earlier than these, back in the 1970s and 1980s, even the creeper virus that was created in 1971 is a really early example of how quickly malware can spread through systems. And then, as you see across 2006, 2010, as the years moved on, the proliferation of malware moved at an alarming rate. So by 2007, as much malware was produced that one single year than had been produced in the previous 20 years altogether. And we're going to talk a little bit more about LOCKY and some of the more recent ones coming up. Okay, so where does that leave us? Well, now in 2016, there are two types of organizations, those that have been breached and those that have been breached but don't know it yet. And this is because ransomware gets activated by a user. So the end user is going to let it in somehow. It's going to start modifying all the files on your system until you get a triggered message from the ransom demand. And normally the ransom is going to increase as the hours pass if you don't respond. So almost 3,000 new malware modifications were reported in the first quarter of 2016. And we can tell that they're getting away with it because of the amount of money paid in ransom. So the FBI reported over $200 million has been paid in ransom in just the first 3 months of 2016. And compare that with a total of just $25 million that was paid in all of 2015 last year. So one big problem of ransomware is that you have no idea for months. It works really slowly. It starts with old files on your system, and it works based on the last date opened or modified of the file. files. So it's going to start modifying all the files in your system until you get this triggered message. And once the files are encrypted, the hackers are going to display one of these screens explaining how to pay to unlock your files. And in the past, ransom started in the $300 to $500 range, but then fast forward to 2016, and now companies are being hit with ransoms in the thousands of dollars. So paying the ransom is going to mean paying some type of e-currency or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. But once the hackers verify the payment, they're going to provide the decryptor software, and then the computer is going to start the really long process of decrypting all of your files. So the fastest response times until you're actually back up and running is going to take about 2 days. And that time frame can get up to 5 days in other cases as well. And then on top of that, there are so many different strains of ransomware out there. There's CryptoLocker, it targets computers running Windows. There's Ransom32, which is a variety of ransomware as a service. So it effectively puts all of the power to create ransomware in the hands of really just about anyone. There are many others as well. They infect the victim's data files, and then there's no way to decrypt the files for free. LOCKY is actually one that we've all heard of recently quite often, and it's going to rename all of your important files so that they have the extension .locky. And then it's going to encrypt them so that only, of course, the cyber criminals have that decryption key. And you can buy the decryption key from them, but it's going to be about $400 in Bitcoin. So LOCKY is really one that changes the game. And by targeting a worldwide audience, businesses and organizations through your entire network are affected. So one of the main routes of the infection with LOCKY has been through spam email campaigns. A lot of the time they're disguised as invoices and they're Word documents containing malicious macros. So that's how LOCKY can sometimes affect people. And then computers throughout Europe and other places have also been hit by these massive email spam campaigns. Japan, New Zealand, Australia, they've also been big targets to similar spam attacks. But even closer to home, Amazon users have been targeted by a massive phishing campaign. And the estimate was that about 30 to 100 million spam messages were sent out claiming to be just an Amazon.com shopping order update. So that's how users are getting infected. But here's where really a bigger problem sets in with LOCKY. So it encrypts the files on the workstation, but then it also travels across your network. So it encrypts files on your network drives as well. And really that's how just one single LOCKY infected user can bring a whole department down. And what we've also seen is that in the beginning days of ransomware, hackers really only went after consumers and individual files and folders that they had. But really these strains of ransomware are increasingly infecting businesses' systems, and they've really upped the ante when it comes to extorting payment for that decryption key. So how do you know if you're infected, and what do you do, and how are you going to go ahead to prevent an attack? Here are a couple of the obvious symptoms that you've been infected. And of course the hackers are really primarily infecting machines using phishing emails, using free software downloads, things like unpatched programs, compromised websites, online advertising. These are all ways that you can unknowingly get infected with malware, and then it activates weeks or even months later. So what are we going to do about this, and what are really the best practices? How are we going to combat this problem? So of course it's important to have an antivirus, but that's more like a firewall, stopping things from coming in. So if you lack sophisticated cybersecurity infrastructure for anti-malware to stop things once they're already on your system, then you're at risk. And of course if you're on this webinar, then that's really all of us. So none of us are immune to these types of high-profile attacks, and everyone has irreplaceable data. So what we're going to do now is sort of shift and talk more about how to effectively and, most importantly, affordably take the proper preventative measures. So you don't really want to be the ones stuck with that FBI recommendation to just pay up. So let's get you a new set of best practices and prevent all of this from happening to you. But I've talked quite a bit, so I want to launch a quick poll first to hear from you. So let me go ahead and get this poll launched first. And then I'll give everyone a minute to answer this. So this quick poll is just, when it comes to ransomware, which of these is you? Let me make sure that it's up on your screen. Yep, everyone can see it now. So A is yes, I've been a victim of ransomware. B, no, I haven't experienced this type of security breach. And C is, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. So far we have 65% of you who voted, so I'll give everyone another moment to vote. All right, we have 78% of you who voted so far. So, so far we have 13% have said, yes, I've been a victim of ransomware. I'd love to hear more details from you. You can use the question tool to share if you'd like to. I'd really like to hear what you did in that scenario. Did you simply pay the ransom? Did you have a backup to roll back to, or what was the case, you know, and how did you get around that? B, we have 81% of you have said, no, I haven't experienced this type of security breach. And then we have 6% who have said, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. And I'm curious to hear from you guys as well. Why don't you think that this will affect you? And what type of environment do you have? Also, just how much data do you have? What would it cost you if you lost your data? And then I see some comments coming through in the questions as well. Chris says, I haven't been affected, but I have clients that have. Do you want to share any details of that story, Chris? All right, so right now we have 85% of you guys have voted, so thank you everyone for your participation. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll down. And I'll share the final results as well, so you should be able to see those final results. And would love to hear from you guys on more details of those stories. Okay. All right, so now we're going to jump back into the presentation. Looks like you guys can all see my screen again now that that poll is closed down. So now we're going to shift towards how to avoid ransomware and actually what to do. So backup and disaster recovery can definitely protect you, but like you see here, only if you do it right. So here are the first initial steps that you want to do if you get infected. The first thing you should really do is just get the infected machine off the network. So you want to stop the malware from spreading. So you always want to assume that the malware could make use of that internet connection, and it's going to be spreading itself to other users. So you want to isolate the machine and stop all network communication from the spread of that malware. Worst case scenario, you may even have to just temporarily turn off network access for the entire office until you can really get that outbreak under control. But that's the first thing you're going to do is just isolate that machine. And then next, you can reset your BIOS time. So in some instances, you can reset the BIOS to stop the clock. And then when there are triggers on that local machine, you can just change the system time. And this is going to give you more time to prepare your backups and prepare your recovery. And also, according to Privacy PC, IT admins don't need to be afraid of the ransomware's countdown timer that's going to increase the payments and double the ransom if you just set your BIOS time back. So that's going to give you more time to just calm down and recover your key files and eliminate the malware. And then third, if you're hit with malware, you want to roll back from a previous backup. So having a recent backup is going to make it really easy for you to restore operations as quickly and painlessly as possible and save time and money for yourself and for the business. So since the ransomware silently, slowly, over weeks or months encrypts files on your computer, having that backup and recovery solution in place and also regularly testing backups to make sure that they're running properly is a critical part of protecting your business from ransomware. If you don't have access to a recent backup at all, then you'll likely have no choice but to pay the ransom, and of course that's going to take lots of time, and we all know that time is money. So these are a couple of screenshots from my backup and recovery account with Infrascale. And by default, Infrascale keeps everything. So I have every version ever backed up, and I can just roll back to any date that I choose. And you can see these are all of the folders on my desktop. So our PO, or recovery point objective, and RTO, or recovery time objective, since I regularly back up my machine, and I could start by just recovering my useful files and keep working this way. But let me repeat one point that I just made again, because it's really important. So I said that by default, Infrascale keeps everything forever. So the importance of that forever archiving is really critical, because most BDR systems are going to just age content out after a few weeks, after maybe a month. But since ransomware can take months to get into your system discreetly, it's just not the idea of having just any old backup system in place, but you need to have a backup and recovery system with that forever archiving component built into it. And then in my Infrascale account, it's not just that backup and recovery software that's on my machine that I just showed you screenshots of. This is a snapshot of my dashboard. So this provides me one unified management console for my entire data protection and cloud storage needs. It doesn't require VPN access. You can view activity alerts, you can access reports and monitoring, you can manage retention settings in here, you can control remote deployments. So there's a lot of tools right at your fingertips within the dashboard. And like we talked about, when ransomware goes through your system, it's going to modify all of the files that it touches. So if it's a file that we're backing up, we're going to recognize it as a changed file. And then this is another screenshot of one of the pages in our dashboard. So in the backup account, we get account level details. So here you can see that there are analytics in this analytics tab from the last 24 hours, last 30 days, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can see which machine actually has the most changes. So what we did is take this analytics section and we created a new monitoring alert. So if you have a large number of newly modified files, you want to know what happened. What type of event was this? What's touching all of my data? An average backup of changed files will just continue as normal, but an unusually large backup is going to trigger an alert to the admin if they're subscribed for those monitoring alerts. So when you get an alert like this, you'll know that you should investigate, see what's happening. Maybe you have ransomware. And we're calling this monitoring alert anomaly detection. So let's take a look at the anomaly detection in action. So this is a really quick video to go through anomaly detection. It's just a 2-minute video. Great, so you should see that just started up. So this is how you're going to set up your anomaly warning. And like we already mentioned, since ransomware works silently, it's modifying files in the background of the machine. So the anomaly warning is going to be an alert that's issued when we've identified an abnormally large number of modified files in one of your recent backups. So to configure the anomaly settings, all you're going to do is go up to the Settings tab and you're going to click on Monitoring. And BB says there must be some kind of delay. Hopefully you guys are seeing this video in action. So we're just going to go up and click on Monitoring. So here is where you see the Enable Anomaly Detection in the bottom corner. And BB, let me know that if this video is playing, if you can see it properly. So here what we're going to do is we let you set the threshold. And it's when the warning is going to be released. It's when that threshold is passed, then the warning is released. So we're going to calculate a rolling average of the modified files over time for each device. And then if you're subscribed to error events, you'll get an email alert. But it also automatically appears here in the monitoring page. So you can see details of each event to investigate. And then you can also go to Manage here if you want to download the logs and investigate at file level. So typically what we've seen is that backup of maybe 5 to 10 modified files per day is average because so much work is done online. But anything 3 to 4 times that is really going to be cause for an investigation. And if you have an unusually large backup, it doesn't always mean malware, but that's why you need to investigate. It could simply be that a user is adding a significant number of files and the IT admin's not aware of it, but that's really important to learn as well because you're paying for usage and that's going to increase cost, so it's something that the admin would want to be aware of anyhow. Now that is an easy fix, but nobody else has proactive alerting. No other BDR solutions out there today have this. Really what's going on now is that everyone's just waiting to get infected and then quickly trying to pay the ransom, roll back to a previous date, and scrambling for a solution. So in addition to that, Infrascale is a completely end-to-end solution. We have double-blind encryption, protection for all servers, workstations, and endpoints, unlimited archiving with that proactive alerting that we just showed you, and then unlimited test recoveries to ensure that the policies you set are working the way you want them to. We also have 24/7 support, 365 days a year. And also, not to mention, we're already protecting thousands of businesses globally with 16 geographically dispersed data centers around the world. And what you see on this map here is each red dot represents a business that we protect. But we've been talking quite a bit about backup and recovery. But what if that's just not enough? And what if we know it's going to take days to fully recover all of your data from a large backup? And then on top of just the need to recover your data, you'll need all of your servers and applications back, all in the right order, which is going to require configuration, running scripts, applying IP addresses, checking connectivity. So this is where disaster recovery as a service comes in. And disaster recovery as a service, or DRaaS, is going to let you quickly fail over your systems, and it supports DR to be on demand, like in this scenario. So in this situation, here are some end users, and unknown to them, they're going to experience a ransomware attack. So with on-demand failover, you can simply log in from any browser, even on a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone, roll back to a previous date, and instantly recover from a clean version of the entire environment, not just the files and folders. So that way everyone keeps working, and that whole process happens in just 15 minutes. So here's a more detailed way to look at it. On the left, what you see is a cloud backup or an offsite backup. You have to copy data back to a second location over the wire. So with really large data sets, it can take a long time. So you'd recover in days. But on the right, you see DRAS, and so this is going to protect entire systems and recover running machines and recover in minutes, because you're simply spinning up compute resources where the data sits. So it's a big difference to be able to fail over in just 15 minutes versus taking days to recover the entire environment. So Infrascale gives two great solutions for ransomware without having to sacrifice any critical data. I think we have some comments okay, so we have some comments from our CEO and founder, Ken Shaw, who's sitting here with me on this webinar. So I'm going to pass it over to Ken.
Hi, guys. So this is totally unscheduled, and Carla's probably a little annoyed with me right now. I'm sitting in because this is a new series of webinars we're doing, and I'm very interested in the topic. This slide on screen is extremely important, but not necessarily, it doesn't make necessarily a point that's immediately obvious. Ransomware has evolved. So the early days with ransomware, not only did they target individuals as the victims, but the primary evil that they represented was data loss, right? So the files were encrypted so that you couldn't access them, and that was the issue. Now that ransomware has evolved so that it will actually spread on a network and self-propagate, and there have been a couple of questions in the Q&A I've been paying attention to where people are asking, does it encrypt fixed drives? Does it encrypt network drives? And the answer is yes. Modern variants will spread throughout a business network. This now means that ransomware not only represents the threat of data loss, but also massive business interruption and downtime. Right? Here at Infrascale, we've got sort of twin purposes in life. One is to help people avoid data loss, but the other is to avoid downtime. So most pundits make the point that backup is the ultimate panacea for ransomware, but they're wrong, right? And that would be true if data loss were the only outcome of a ransomware attack. Because modern variants will actually spread across a network and encrypt data on servers and on network folders and on other computers, one of the biggest immediate issues with modern variants of ransomware is that your entire network goes down and your business operations shut down, right? Servers stop working. Exchange servers seize up because their database or part of their operating files have been locked. So backup was the best solution when the issue was simply data loss. Now that we're also facing massive business interruption, DR or DR as a service like we here at Infrascale provide becomes a far better solution, right? Because with backup, your recovery time, as shown here on the slide, can be days. You're ultimately moving a whole chunk of data over a wire. Whenever you've got to move data over a wire, it takes time. With DRAS or DR on demand, as we sell, we don't need to do that. We spin up the computers where the data's sitting. That could be locally or that could be out in the cloud, right? And that means that it's a guaranteed fixed time operation so that sort of you've protected yourself from loss, but you've also protected yourself from downtime. And in the business context, they're both equally bad. And so this slide came from a drawing that I gave to our head of marketing about a week ago, and I thought I'd weigh in and talk about it. And with that, I'm going to shut up and pass it back to Carla. So Carla, back to you.
Thanks, Ken. Hopefully that really helps explain this slide and sheds more light on what's really going on. So thanks for jumping in there, Ken. So what we're looking at is just a solution for ransomware without having to cough up these ridiculously high ransom payments, deal with any lost profits due to downtime, or sacrificing any of your critical data. And how much of our customers paid in ransomware? Well, nothing. So what Infrascale gives is just a complete solution that is going to help you against ransomware. It's the #1 cybersecurity threat today. So what I'd like to offer for everyone as a next step is to take advantage of a 60-day free trial. So we'll get you set up and tested out for free for 60 days. And if you want to take advantage of this offer, you can either send me an email. My email is on the screen here, carla.federigo@infrascale.com, or just simply type into the question tool and let me know if you'd like to take advantage of this. So you can just type into the question tool either your phone number or your email address, whatever the best way you'd like us to contact you, and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I have one more quick poll for everyone now. So this is the last poll here, so bear with me on that. I'd love to hear from everyone again, just to get some feedback from you and see where everyone's at. So you should see this poll popping up on your screen now. So which of these is you currently? A, I can confidently roll back to a previous backup whenever needed. B, I wish I had backup and disaster recovery but can't afford it. Or C, I still don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. So I'll give everyone a moment to answer. We have 50% of you have voted already. So far, 74% of you say, I can confidently roll back to a previous backup whenever needed. And how long would that take? What would the recovery time be? You can use the question tool to answer that. And then 28% say, I wish I had a backup and disaster recovery solution, but can't afford it. And so far, nobody has said, I still don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. So something changed there from the last poll that we did, because 6% of you, I believe, were saying 13%? Okay, so 13% just didn't think that they'd be affected at all. What changed? What did you hear that made you realize it was a real threat? All right, we've got 74% of you have voted so far. Just give everyone just a few more seconds. And Cal is responding to my question of how long will it take. Cal says it would take days for my complete system to restore. Yikes. Sorry, Cal. I think we need to get you on a better solution. Danny says a few hours to recover. Danny, how much would that cost you? What's your cost per hour of downtime? And do you know your cost per hour of downtime? Danny says, good question. Well, I have a study that I'll actually share with everyone with the slides, where we have there was a survey of, I believe it was about 500 businesses, and the average cost per hour was $163,000. Smaller companies lost $6,000 per hour, and larger enterprises lost several hundred. I think it was about $700,000 per hour. So that's something that I'll share with you guys as well. It's really interesting data. Okay, we've got 74% who voted. I was trying to wait to see if we could get everyone to weigh in on this survey here, but I'll go ahead and close that poll down now. I'll share the stats with you guys, and I still want to hear from you guys who, the 13% of you who initially said, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware, and now the tides have changed. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and hide this survey, and I want to jump into the Q&A. So lots of questions have been coming throughout the whole presentation. If you joined late, just to let you know, we are doing a prize giveaway during the Q&A, where all you need to do to be eligible for that is just ask lots of relevant and on-topic questions. We really like to get a lot of audience participation going, so we'll jump into the Q&A. On the line, we have one of our sales engineers, Aaron Jordan. Aaron, can you hear us? Are you still there on the line?
I am here. Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Yeah, loud and clear.
Excellent.
Great. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Aaron and or Ken, because we have Ken here as well. So you have to try to stump them. So just put your questions into the Q&A in the software, and then I'll hand it over to Aaron to start with.
Actually, Aaron, I'm going to jump in again, buddy. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sure.
There's one question on the line here that I want to answer. Really jumps out at me. Question from Jess Stewart, who said, why would your restoration be faster if it still needs to be transferred from the cloud? Carla, would you be able to go back to the slide that we had up on the difference between backup and DRAS? So this, guys, is a really vital concept to grasp. And if you walk away from this webinar with two things, the first thing is that, look, you've got to have a great BDR solution in place to protect you and your clients from ransomware. That's number one. The number two is that a backup is not a backup, a BDR is not a BDR. There are wildly different performance characteristics for different technologies in the market. So to Jeff's question, why can we do it in 15 minutes if we're still transferring data from the cloud? Jeff, precisely because we're not transferring data. So if you think about, so here on this slide, on the left we have the traditional backup flow, and on the right we have this newfangled concept called DRAS or DRAS, DR as a service. And if you look at the left, this shows your typical backup and recovery, right? Where if you look sort of your production box at the top, that is then a backup server next to it, right? And that backup server is then copying data to some storage. Now that storage could be a tape drive, that storage could be an on-prem disk array, that storage could be some sort of cloud repository. But fundamentally it is copying data over a while. Now, when you then have a disaster, which here in this diagram is demarked by the little fire in the circle, I'm not sure that's super obvious, so you're forgiven if you couldn't quite figure out what that meant. But when the disaster happens, what you then need to do is copy the data back out of storage. So again, depending on the media you chose, that could mean you're copying data over a wire from a disk. That's pretty fast. It could also mean you're copying data out of a tape drive. That's a lot slower. Or slowest yet, it could mean that you're copying data over the WAN using an internet connection from the cloud, which is generally the slowest of all. Then you've got to reconfigure. So basically, this is weird coming from the CEO of, prior to this I was CEO of SOS Online Backup, a backup company, but I know what I'm talking about. Backup at the end of the day is just fancy copy. You copy to storage and you copy back when you want to recover. DRAS is something very different. In DRAS, what we do is we say, well, when a disaster happens, we don't want to have to copy anything. We don't want to have to move anything. We want to magically spin up a whole bunch of computers right where that data is. So if that data is sitting in your office on a big storage array, let's magically put computers there. If that data is sitting like in another one of your offices, let's magically spin up computers there. Or if the data is out in the cloud, let's magically spin up computers there. So that's what Infrascale's DRAS solution does. We virtualize and create on the fly up to 200 machines to basically reconstruct your data center infrastructure where the data is sitting. And that's how we guarantee 15 minutes. So it's sort of a nerdy point and it's a subtle point, but it's a vital point that backup and recovery is not good for DR purposes, right? Backup and recovery is going to disappear over the next 5 to 10 years and be replaced by on-demand failover and DRAS solutions. And so that's really at the heart of what Infrascale does. Sure, we have backup technology, but what you should really be looking at is our DRAS technology. And so that's a long-winded answer to your question, Jeff, but one of the most important points that we can make in this webinar. Did I answer your question though, Jeff, after all that? Jeff writes he doesn't believe in magic. Well, Jeff, you obviously haven't tried our software. All right, so now Aaron, I'll turn it back over to you, bud.
Sure, thanks for that, Ken. And so I'll just quickly say, every time Ken said magic, just insert Infrascale software, and it'll make more sense for those who don't believe in magic. But you will once you see it work. With that being said, I'm just going to start up towards the top because there are a lot of questions at the beginning that I wanted to cover. So let's start with Chris Llanos asked, does this backup also allow an image backup or just files and folders? So we actually cover the gamut, right? We're going to take everything from your files and folders to bare metal images to, most importantly, what Ken was touching on, DRAS. So I'm going to be able to spin up those machines locally or in the cloud, depending on what your need is. So I'll cover it soup to nuts. Everything that you've got, I can pick it up. We like to say in the office, mobile to mainframe. Anything that you've got, I can back it up. Let's see, what else do we have here? Chris also asked, that's a mention about wanting to test drive. I apologize. Let's see. Bebe asks, the Gartner quadrant is key as to who are the visionaries to provide the solutions for these detections, preventions, and quick solution processes for DLP due to ransomware, correct? Yeah, by and large, Gartner is a really good source for who you can look at, who you can rely on. They are very stringent with who they even allow to be interviewed for their product offering, or to see what your product offerings are. So they're by and large pretty good. In fact, I can't talk too much more about it, but I would like to say keep an eye out. Gartner is going to publish something soon, and it's going to be beautiful. So please keep an eye out and look for Infrascale. Let's see. Chris or Cal Powers mentions perhaps a midpoint question. I can mostly roll back, so he's referring back to the rollback capabilities. So I did want to mention this, and Carla mentioned this earlier. Not only can you pick out files and folders, but also roll back machines from any point in time. So it behooves you to have a long retention period to ensure that you've got a lot of options for restoration. So like Ken also mentioned earlier, it's not just about bringing your files online or back so you can work with them. It's about business continuity. So you don't go down. You can't afford that database to get locked up, and then all of a sudden your business can't work. It doesn't. Nobody can come to work that day. Let's see. Jeff Stewart asks, why would the restoration be faster if it still needs to be transferred to the cloud? Ken just answered that. Basically, you have the local and you have the cloud, and we have a lot of fun technology within that makes even the restorations from the cloud much more efficient. I encourage a demo. What I mean by that is you should get on the call with me or a salesperson, and we can show it to you. It's one thing to be told this; it's another thing to see it. So I encourage that. Let's see. Jeff mentioned this, and I mentioned it to him briefly, or spoke to him privately, but I wanted to let everyone else hear this. He says, I tried to install earlier today, but it won't install as I currently have Veeam Agent running on my workstation. What backup products will your software run up side by side with? And I didn't have any issues testing, another solution while running Veeam. This is probably because things were running at the same time. So it's important to note how our technology works alongside other competitors. So Veeam, like our appliance solution, will look at the host level of the hypervisor. When something looks at the host level of the hypervisor, you're using the VSS solution that provider allows for. If you have more than one product running that uses the VSS at the same time, they're going to have a hissy fit together. And it's not just us. If you were to put in Unitrend, Barracuda, Datto, the same thing, they would all do the exact same thing. Now, there are different level backups as well. There's files and folders, there's bare metal, there are DRAS. So you can get a combination of locked files and non-locked files. So we have a bunch of solutions that can run in tangent with other products like Veeam. But to be completely honest with you, our appliances and our solution can completely displace everything. So whether you have a file and folder need, a bare metal need, a disaster recovery need, a ransomware protection need, all of this, it's covered under the same umbrella. So you could deploy one solution, have one dashboard to monitor it for all of your clients, and not have to worry about which product is running Veeam, or which product is running, Aperture, which one is running, this product or that product. You have it all centralized, and the best of all, it works with things like ConnectWise. We have direct ConnectWise integration, or LabTech, or Kaseya, or other RMNs, PSAs, so that you don't even have to use our dashboard. You can do it all through an existing product that you already like. So that's, I think, a bonus in my opinion. Someone asks, so let's see, Andrew asks, what is the effect on backing up on bandwidth? I love answering this question because I always blow minds with it. So most products, when you're moving images from site A to site B, you require a lot of bandwidth. And we actually have something built into our product that's effectively a WAN accelerator. So on top of getting a solution that will do bare metal images and backups and DRAS. We've got something that makes the facilitation of the offsite faster. And I alluded to this earlier about Jeff's question, how we can get data back and forth quickly. We have something, we have DDF called DDFS Assisted. It's a technical term for basically change blocks, but intelligently moving only change blocks from one site to another and back and forth. This prevents you from having to have a lot of bandwidth. So I've actually deployed this appliance on sites with like 1 or 2 megabits per second, and they're still able to do their bare metals nightly and not even notice it in the morning when they come in. But more importantly, it also effectively scales up. Let's say that you have a giant client, and they've got 100 megabits per second, but they've got terabytes of data they need to ship out every night. Well, our DDFS Assisted will also scale for their needs so that you can get more data off-site, so they can expect the same quality of service, well, you know, as the smaller guys will, or vice versa. Someone asked, do you have an office in South Africa? We do have sales out of South Africa. We do have offerings in South Africa. We actually have a South African data center in Johannesburg. So, Mohammed, if you have more questions on that, I highly encourage you contact one of our sales reps. I believe it's Peter. I'm sure that he would love to talk to you about the offerings that we can give you out in South Africa. Bebe asked, what I believe may have changed in your polls is that the audience's awareness has been increased as a result of presentations, don't you think? Yes, Bebe, education is the key. You're absolutely right there. As we start to learn about these items or realize what is available and what is actually happening, it starts to open our eyes to the things that are going on, and we can make better informed decisions based off of that knowledge. Chris Llanos asks, if a system is locked from the start and the PC needs to be re-imaged, does the image backup also take about 15 minutes or just data files? So here's where it gets really awesome. Chris, I can boot any number of your machines in 15 minutes or less, either locally on our appliance or in the cloud. So even if the image is locked, if that machine is just like, whether it's ransomware locked or it's a smoking pile of plastic in the corner, I can spin up your entire environment in 15 minutes or less so that you're running out of the cloud or the secondary site, whatever you've got running. So that gives you the leg room or the time to be able to order new hardware and then rebuild those machines at your leisure. So yeah, we can guarantee 15 minutes, but I can also remove the stress of having to get everything done and rebuilt and the environment back up in less than 15 minutes because it's already running in an automated solution. So I'd actually like to talk to you more about that in a call. In fact, I'd like to show you it. I'd like to boot a machine in front of you on a call. That always melts people's brains there. Bebe asks, so DRAS is a visionary future of DLP. It's not just the visionary future, it is the future of DLP. Data loss prevention is more than just getting your files back. It's preventing your business from going down. And that's exactly what DRAS is. It's insurance for your company. Jeff asks, or mentions, not quite, if the data on the computers is encrypted, how do you spin up? So here's where we go back to the versions, right? We're running all kinds of versions of the data. We've got a bunch located in the local machine and also in the cloud. So you may have a lockup of the version that was deployed yesterday or backed up yesterday or the day before yesterday, but I've got all that data in the cloud still. So I can always roll back to a previous version that wasn't locked in our cloud, that's unaffected. So we do have the ability to get back to older versions based off your retention policies. I should mention that. Bebe asks, where does your solution sit in the Gartner quadrant? I think Ken would be best to answer that. Ken, did you want to take this one, or did he already answer it?
Absolutely not, Bebe. You're just going to have to wait and see. It comes out in a month. Actually, it comes out later this month. So everybody, you should stay tuned. As Aaron said before, it's going to be pretty cool.
Right. All right, so David asks, are you an appliance or do you run a VM infrastructure next to my current VM physical servers? So Infrascale is incredibly flexible. I've got software, I've got host level recovery or backups from either an appliance or a virtual machine, or again, you can just use software that goes direct to cloud. So whether again, you have mobile devices that you want to back up and just send those to a cloud, or you have entire environments and you've already got hardware set aside, you can deploy virtual appliances as well that will do the same task of a physical appliance. So you really actually get to choose, David, whatever is best for you. A follow-up question from David. Also, how do you handle the ransomware hiding? If your antivirus doesn't grab it the first time, I assume it's not going to grab it when it's dormant waiting for spring back again. So the way our solution works is we're data protection. We're not antivirus. But what we do have is that solution that Carla mentioned earlier, that's an early warning detection system. It tracks files being changed and altered at an unnatural rate. What I mean by that is you're going to have some data that's either isolated and quiet and hasn't been touched in a while, so it won't actually flip the CRC switch, right? The thing that lets us know the file's changed and it needs to be backed up. But also, you're going to see an unusual amount of activity on those machines of an odd number of changed files, stuff that, again, you haven't touched in a long time. So our solution will actually monitor that, and that threshold based off that percentage that Carla mentioned is a threshold to find out at what percentage rate should files be changing. Should I expect a 10% change in my entire file base every day? And if I do see more than a 10%, then I know that something is going on. Either we had an influx that day of people working, or we actually had something hit us. And that's how we can get an early warning system. So you can actually begin the isolation that way. With that being said, we also have partnerships with people like AVG, where you can utilize their antivirus solution in tangent with our backup solution to give you a higher level of protection, not just with business continuity and backup, but with prevention altogether with antivirus firewalls and things of that nature. All right, Jeff mentions, I might have missed this, but how does the pricing work for DRaaS compared to your normal offsite backup? So I am a technical person. I think the best way for you to get that answer is if you were to sit down with us on a call and have one of our sales reps talk about the products that are offered, how to go about utilizing, go to market with those products, and what the prices are. And at that time, I can also then show you your own personalized demo. So I'd encourage you to contact our sales team, or at least we'll contact you, so that you can get information on how you can make your margins and what that looks like. Bebe mentioned, given that security is not 100% reliable for any product, is DRaaS a 100% solution process? If not, what would its SWOT look like? So nothing is 100%, right? The way you do it is it's like a police officer, right? When you have a riot, you put on riot gear. You have a helmet, you have body armor, you have your baton, you have your stun gun, you have your weapon, you have your walkie-talkie. There are a lot of tools that you use to get the job done. We are a critical piece so that in the event that a riot does break out, you can pacify, you can roll back, you can get things working again, at least in some measure. The idea is you need more than just backup and disaster recovery. You also need something to prevent it. Firewalls, high-grade switches, antivirus, malware protectors, etc. So there are a lot of other things that you utilize in tangent with our product. Someone asked, or Mohammed said, I'm a reseller and have very strong business continuity with ICT service continuity background. Great, so it's good for you to have another utility to add to your repertoire. Jeff asks, how do you handle changes made on, say, a VM SQL server that has been spun up for failover so that when the physical machine is able to come back, it contains the same information that was spun up? Actually, I cover this in my normal demo, but I'm going to give you the quick end of it. Essentially, you can take that booted machine and you can convert it into a backup job. And then as soon as you convert it, you can push it over into the other machine via either bare metal, so you can virtualize it permanently in Hyper-V or VMware, or you can restore it back to new hardware because it's hardware independent recovery capable. So basically, a previous point as a bare metal starting point while you're building it, and then once the bulk of the building happens, you can then power off the virtually running machine that is accepting all new incoming data, convert that into a job, push back just the change blocks, and now you've got your machine up and running within an hour or so, hopefully on a weekend from a full-on disaster where there is no machine at all. Let's see. Chris Llanos mentions his clients are in Miami, small, medium-sized businesses. That's actually a pretty good niche. They have a need for disaster recovery due to all the hurricanes. So actually, I think that you have a really good opportunity, Chris, so I would definitely contact us to see what we can do for you. Jeff Lipshaw mentions, I'm glad that I was on this webinar just learning about anomaly detection, which I think is ingenious. It was great to learn about. I'd be going on and turning that on for all my clients later today. Jeff, appreciate it. And I thought I recognized you. I actually used to talk to you in the past when I was in support. So it's good to see you here learning up on the newest products. And I want to encourage that to everyone on this webinar. You got to learn, right? The best way to keep on track of things is to continue to come at our webinars. They're not just for new people, they're for everybody, right? And I want you to continue to come here and ask questions, learn about what we've got, see what we have to offer, see what new offerings are available for you to be able to make, add to your repertoire. And we're getting close here, and I want to be able to give Carla time to be able to announce the winner. So I'm going to take one more question from Jeff. It says, are there any offers or ways to be an affiliate if one has a consulting business and wants to offer this service to our clients? Very good question, Jeff. We're actually channel focused, so we actually rely on resellers like you to get this product out there. Now, I'll actually help you with demos and deployments and conversations and calls to your clients, but we need your help. And so with that being said, I really highly encourage you to reach out to our marketing team and or someone from the sales department, or we'll reach out to you, and we can talk about how you can resell this product when you're offering and get a higher margin on what you're offering and giving your clients a higher level of protection than they would normally get with just a simple backup solution alone or a simple antivirus solution alone. So with that being said, I'm going to hand this off to Carla, and she can pull out the victor for today's Chromecast.
Thanks, Aaron. And again, thank you everyone for your time today and just in being here, and thank you for your participation in the Q&A. That was really great. We had lots of questions come through. So the winner for the giveaway today, I did mention it's a Chromecast giveaway. It's going to be Lou W. So Lou, congratulations. I will reach out to you and send an email to you. So look forward to that later today. And again, thank you everyone for joining. I very much look forward to working with you in the future.
And thanks everybody for indulging my drop-in and unscripted interruption of today's presentation. But I hope it's been educational. And Carla and Aaron did a fantastic job. And I really hope you get in touch with us, whether it's just for educating your clients or evaluating some of our solutions to really help you remediate any ransomware attack. Thank you and have a fantastic day.